Welcome to the bustling streets of New York City, a concrete jungle where dreams are made and sometimes shattered. The year is 1930, and the air is thick with jazz, the whispers of Prohibition, and the hustle and bustle of a city that never sleeps. This isn't just any decade in American history, it's an era that will define a generation. And right in the heart of it all is where our story starts. Today, we're going to step into the shoes of an aspiring, influential publisher in the gripping world of News Tower. A game where your choices not only write the headlines, but also craft history itself, according to the Steam page. That's not in the demo. From the echo of clacking typewriters to the roar of the printing presses, every decision you make resonates throughout the city. In a time where the pen is mightier than the sword, will you rise to become the city's most revered media mogul? Or will the weight of the truth and the lure of sensationalism be your undoing? Join me as we dive into the demo of News Tower, exploring every nook and cranny of this captivating simulation demo. What's up, everybody? I'm Conduit, and in today's video, I wanted to take a first look at News Tower. It's a new game that's just coming out. The demo just dropped today, I believe. It will be releasing next month in February, whenever this video comes out. So buckle up as we navigate through the challenges of managing a newspaper in the 1930s. You're going to build your empire from the ground up and dealing with everything from the mayor to the mafia. Are you going to print the truth? Are you going to print what sells? Let's find out together what this game has in store. But before that, remember to hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell, all that good shit, right? Now, let's turn the page and begin our journey in News Tower. You play as a recent immigrant in New York. I imagine from Europe somewhere. I'm guessing Italy. Again, the game doesn't really say. Your uncle and father have been in America for a while, but your father returned home, and the paper that your father and uncle have started has been losing market share in the industry. So your uncle decides to pass the newspaper on to you. Now, if you know anything about 1930s New York, it's a very interesting time period. This is when Prohibition was in place, the mafia was in charge. The Roaring '20s was coming to a screeching halt due to massive sell-offs in the stock market, leading to the whole country entering a depression. Watch Cinderella Man if you're interested in other media exploring this topic. It's just a great movie, and I think it really kind of helps set the 1930s New York. So in this game, you have total control over the newspaper that you run. You get to decide what it's called, what news gets printed, what gets investigated, what reporters cover what story, even how to arrange the furniture and make sure that your employees stay happy in the building. So this is just the demo I'm covering, but I thought it was so good that I wanted to talk about it. So the core gameplay loop right now is that you have a world map, and that's where you get to decide where you want to send your reporters to stories that are uncovered through the world map. Then you can decide, depending on the story, how you want to investigate it. You have to release a newspaper once a week, every Sunday. So you have 1 week to get the stories you want done. You can put stories from last week in your newspaper in the next week, but that will give you a sales hit. Another important part of this game is managing the office. So there's multiple floors to the building. You get to add more floors onto the building to expand. So whether that's just adding more printers to allow you to have more pages of news, or putting more reporters' desks in there to be able to have more reporters. And then you also have to manage their mood by making sure it's not too loud in their office. It doesn't get too hot. They have a bathroom. There's a lot of stuff to put in there, like they have clocks, fans, plants, and then there's also stuff that you can add to their offices or right above their desks that makes them better at certain types of news. So you can put like a political campaign map above your politics expert, and that gives them a buff. Pretty standard management game stuff. I do think it's cool, but again, nothing outside of the norm for games of this type. But in this game, you do more than just investigate news. You also have to expand your business to different neighborhoods in New York. So in the demo, you only have access to Brooklyn, but obviously all, or at least most of New York will be available upon early access release next month. So in this game, there is 5 types of news that you cover. There is sports, politics, crime, society, entertainment, and economy. The reporters you hire have specific interests and skills, so some will be more skilled at investigating crime news, while some will be better at economic news, and the more you send them on a specific type of news beat, the more skilled they get. Now, something in the demo that I'm not a huge fan of is to expand your newspaper to other neighborhoods, you have to write specific types of news for that issue to break into the neighborhood's market. So to expand to another neighborhood, let's say they want you to write about crime, politics, and economy, that issue. But I think that makes the game seem a bit smaller and kind of takes away agency from the player. Like maybe I only want to cover politics or I only want to cover business news. But to expand the business, you'll have to cover basically every story that the game has. Now, the developers have talked about adding a free play mode down the line, but that's a bit of a pipe dream for now. I imagine they're going to probably work more on the main story. So this game also claims to have a 3-act story from 1930 to 1939 once it's fully released, according to the Steam forums from the devs. In early access, only 1930 to 32 will be available. But I think an overarching story will be very cool for this type of game, and it will add more depth, and then hopefully there's branching decisions and stuff. And then you're also going to have to deal with 3 factions in the game that you can choose to help or not to. In the demo, the only faction you're able to interact with so far is the Mafia, and they also mentioned the Mayor being another faction. No word on what the 3rd faction will be. The graphics are a little basic. I've never really cared too much for graphics in games. And again, they're a small studio. I think they get a pass. And also, it's pretty stylized graphics. I don't think they look bad. You know, they're not going for photorealism. So the graphics get the job done. And then the soundtrack being some nice jazz, I think is also a nice touch. Helps you feel a bit more immersed. I thought the demo was a lot of fun and really good for a 4-person studio. I think the game will only get better over time, and I think everyone should go check it out. I have pretty high expectations for how the game will develop just based off the demo, and I'm excited for the upcoming release date. I love the 1930s / Great Depression era backdrop, and I think it's one of the most interesting parts of American history. And I think that a news media mogul is kind of the perfect avenue to tell a story in this time period, because you're going to be able to see, I guess, most of the news from this time period. They're not just going to stick to covering one specific aspect of it. In this game, it honestly kind of reminds me of a now abandoned terrible game that I bought years ago called News Tycoon. I'm not sure if anybody's ever heard of it, but it was awful. But unlike that game, News Tower has no bugs in it. It's actually fun to play and makes sense. But that's like the only other game that's coming to mind when I think of, I guess, News Tycoon simulators. So, as we come to the end of our journey through the demo of News Tower, I think it's clear that this game offers more than just a glimpse into the life of a newspaper mogul in the 1930s. I think it will become a deep dive into the tumultuous and fascinating period of history. I think it promises an immersive and thought-provoking experience, especially if they do everything that they say they will do. I think the potential for storytelling within this framework is immense, and I'm excited to see how the full game will unfold, especially with additional content and the other acts that will span from 32 to 39 when it fully releases. So yes, there are areas for improvement, like the graphics maybe, and the need for more player agency in certain aspects in my opinion. But considering this is the work of a small but dedicated team, I think News Tower is already shaping up to be a gem in the simulation genre. So let me know what you think. Are you excited to step into the shoes of a 1930s media mogul? What strategies do you think you're going to use to conquer the newspaper world? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you downloaded the demo. Let me know what you thought of the video. You know, suggestions, criticisms, random ramblings. I don't really care. You know, it all helps the algorithm. That's all I got. This has been Conduit. Remember, Jesus loves you, and I'll see you when I see you.